Well, I am a first-generation college graduate. My parents would have loved to go to college. My mom, at the time, her family did not think it was appropriate for her to leave town. When I started working at Drake, I found out that she always wanted to go to Drake. She wanted to be a journalist, and so she was really excited when I got this position. My parents, my family, were very proud of me, but they really didn't know how to help me. And so I changed my major a lot because I didn't know what I was going to do. Back in the day, first-gen college student wasn't even a term. So now there are so many more supports like Jules Academy, like programs on campuses that help students who don't have that. Their parents are super proud, but they just don't have the experience to be able to help or advise, and so there are a lot more resources now. So after I got my bachelor's degree, then I worked for several years as a paramedic and was really interested in the science aspects. And I had never had anyone kind of give me the information that I needed to know whether I was even good at sciences or not. So that was a real surprise, and how much I loved it and how well I did at it. And so when I was a paramedic and seeing situations where we could immediately help or bring people to the hospital to help, the science aspects was just fascinating to me. And with people with diabetes, to be able to bring them out of a coma almost immediately. And so that was just always really interesting to me. And so I went back to school and learned about exercise science and cardiovascular physiology, and was so interested in the research that I went on to get my doctorate degree in epidemiology. There were no role models at the time. Now, we learn about people like Ada Lovelace or Rosalind Franklin, who contributed so much to science, but who were not recognized or part of our history lesson. And so to learn about those role models now and to have young people learn about those role models, representation matters. And seeing someone who has been successful in science and who has made significant contributions to knowledge, it makes a huge difference. And so, I just kind of went around. My path through the sciences was not a straight path. When I was in college, the faculty members were incredibly supportive, setting standards and expectations, and it was not something that I had ever known before. There was not the expectation when I was growing up that I would go to college, so to have people who had expectations for me and for my education was really helpful. I would also say that my grandmother, when I first said that I was going to get my doctorate degree, my mom said, can you write a prescription? And I said, no. And she said, well, then what's the point? And so, of course, she went on to be one of my biggest fans and supporters in getting my education. But my grandmother said, your education is the most important thing. No one can ever take that away from you. And it seems like a lot of people's grandmothers have said that exact same thing. So she was role modeling for me the importance of my education. She just thought it was wonderful that I would continue my education. And when I told her, I'm not going to be able to write a prescription, but I'll be a professor, and she just thought that was the most honorable thing ever. So at Drake, as I said, representation matters, and so hiring faculty and staff in the STEM fields is critically important, and that includes women and people of color, and it also includes considering the curriculum that we deliver. So I was really fascinated. We have a lot of faculty who are very engaged in artificial intelligence, and we created a major, one of the first undergraduate majors in the country in artificial intelligence. And one of the faculty members does work on diversity in artificial intelligence. And when I think about how our programs support diversity and making a change in the world, I would say that I had always thought things like sociology or law, politics, and society would be our graduates who go on to make huge changes. But then what I learned about artificial intelligence is the biases that are programmed into the learning systems, and educating students to see those biases and to change the algorithms so that they're not biased. And that is what's going to change the world. You know, I mean, that's what I feel like is our role, to be able to change the world. And I was just really excited to find that out about the work that we're doing now. Community partnerships are critical to develop pathways for students to see themselves as mathematicians and biologists, and certainly Jules Academy helps young people see themselves as scientists from an earlier age, before they lose the drive or the imagination for themselves that they can be a biologist or a mathematician. So supporting those relationships is critical to having students see themselves in those roles. I would say that's part of the previous question, in that establishing young women to feel comfortable on campus, to be able to see themselves in professions, or to meet faculty who would serve as their mentors, and having those young women feel comfortable being on campus. Sometimes it's a fear of not knowing, and if you're the first in your family to go to college, it might stop someone from seeing themselves in that role. I would say that Kim's leadership of Jules Academy is Kim walks the walk, and that is critical, to have someone who's so passionate about educating young women into STEM fields, young women that might not have seen themselves in those roles. If we learn how to clone in the STEM fields, we would be cloning Kim, because the work that you do is incredibly supportive and incredibly important. It opens doors that these young women might not have had otherwise. Well, certainly donations support young women to be part of Jules Academy, but I know that we count on people's time, talents, and treasures. And so if they're able to mentor or provide a guest lecture, or to do something that is not necessarily financial support, but still has a huge impact on what the young women are learning, that's a huge impact. I would want everyone to see that they could be successful in science. When I was a faculty member, I taught graduate statistics, biostatistics, for 20 years, and it was always, every semester started the same. Students would come in, graduate students would come in, and they'd look at me like this. And they'd know that they were not going to like me, and they would know that they were not going to do well. And so that's how they started, and that was a hurdle to overcome. And by the end of the first month or so, they'd think, well, I can do this, you know. And so just to get past that hurdle that we put in our own minds, that we can't do something, and to think, you can do this. You need the right kind of mentors, and you need people that believe in you, but you can do it.
Provost Madison, we give an award to our young women to what to aspire to, and you are that. You were selected to receive this award, and the award is called Brilliance in Servant Leadership Award. And just to describe to you, it's an individual who exhibits excellence as a STEM leader within their chosen profession, as well as modeling the values of Jules Academy and serving the broader community and the nation. We know that you are an avid community volunteer within our nation and across the world, and you're just what we want our young women to aspire to. So we give you this award today, and we just thank you for being an example here in our community.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's so cool.